Subscribe now. EU debates.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and first thank you for your own comments and encouragement for our decision. That is very much appreciated when you referred also to the earlier enlargement rounds of NATO and your support to the current ones. Also thanking Mr. Gahler for your comments, and I fully agree that our reaction, of course, is we think it's also a signal for our common defense and our common values in Europe that we have to also defend at this very difficult moment. Then to some questions, Mr. Alexandrov, thank you for your comments, and I really appreciate that you know in a so detailed way the war history of Finland when you took up Mr. Simo Häyhä. High appreciation for that. Your question was that could Russia be excluded from the UN work, and we all know the rules and procedures of the United Nations and the particular nature of the Security Council and the permanent members of the Security Council. But of course I really have to underline that at least two important decisions have been made already on the UN level. The first, the big voting of more than 140 votes in the General Assembly to condemn Russia's attack against Ukraine. I think that was a very good and timely reaction by the General Assembly of UN. And secondly, the exclusion of Russia from the Human Rights Council was also an important voting and decision in the UN. As you know, Finland is currently also member of the UN Human Rights Council. Then Mr. Heinäluoma put a very timely question that how do we see the EU's defense and security policy. Finland has been one of those countries that has been strongly advocating the Article 42.7, and we have been thinking that it should be mobilized and it should be trained and it should be put to the reality even more stronger ways. And we know that it has been used one time when France was under terrorist attack, and Finland also supported France at that moment. But we think that there is no limits how the EU's defense and security policy should be developed, and we really appreciate all those efforts to do that. And of course the strategic compass is one part of the work. Then Mr. Heinäluoma, you also asked about the supporting of reconstruction of Ukraine, and Finland just pledged last week in Poland a remarkable sum of money for also reconstruction work. But it's a very interesting question. Could we use the confiscated resources from oligarchs to this reconstruction? And my only comment to that, I fully support the idea. My only comment of that is that since we are a rule of law societies, we have to do, of course, everything accordingly to legal procedures, but I think this is an idea that should be investigated. Then to my good colleague Reinhard Bütikofer, thank you for also your comments and encouragement, and I fully also want to underline, and I have been saying this always, that this crisis has really united the European Union, and we really appreciate that. Already the Belarus attack and mobilizing the migration against Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, we reacted strongly together, and now to the support of Ukraine, we have been in front line in many ways, and also through the European Peace Facility. And the issue of your question about the European future of Ukraine is an interesting question. I know that all our legal experts are saying that, well, we have the acquis communautaire and it's a long way and so forth. And I think we have been also discussing here in Finland, would there be some rapid moves that European Union could do, maybe not as immediately to the full membership, but on some sectors where we could strengthen our cooperation with Ukraine and make it more visible, this European perspective immediately. That would maybe be appreciated very much by Ukrainians as well. Then to Madam Minister Fotyga, thank you for your support. And when you mentioned the Arctic issue, of course, Arctic Council, the permanent members are 8, and now if 2 of them are joining NATO, if in my calculation we have then 7 NATO members and 1 non-NATO member, Russia, in Arctic Council. Of course, Arctic Council has been now postponing all its meetings. There is a Russian presidency of the Council, and it's not functional at the moment. But I still think that some of the crucial Arctic issues are linked to not only to security but also to the big climate change issues and climate topics, and definitely this is also something where I see a lot of role for European Union in the Arctic cooperation. So both security and environmental threats should be addressed. Then to Mr. Liga, you asked a very crucial question about the so-called security guarantees during this grey zone when you apply for the membership of NATO, but you are not yet a member. You are not protected by Article 5. Yesterday, UK gave a very strong statement by Prime Minister Johnson, both in Stockholm and in Helsinki. And of course, we have been talking to our EU friends that what kind of support could be, for example, to Article 42.7 in these circumstances give to both Sweden and Finland. And I think it would be very important to underline the solidarity according to that article, because that's in our mind something that is really existing. And of course, we are looking also close cooperation with Sweden in this application process, but also on security-wise, because we have a lot of common exercises, common military planning with Sweden, and also hopefully together we are strong here in the northern parts of Europe. Mr. Reuten also asked about what type of security challenges there could be. We are, of course, prepared for everything. We are not expecting anything, but we are prepared for everything. We are prepared for on land, air, maritime influences, and of course we are looking particularly careful all the hybrid and cyber means that can be used against us, and here again asking full support from European Union and European Union member states on addressing these threats. And to your question, how can EU and how can the countries help, I think this preparedness for all kinds of even surprises, so we should be ready for that. And Madam Malametsa, you asked a very particular question on the hybrid threats, and we have seen, of course, all kinds of GPS disturbance and electronic disturbance and attacks against our computer systems and so forth. And I think we should be, as European Union, even stronger to respond to those attacks. Madam Björk, I think you raised a very important topic in the end. How do we see our role as a peaceful nation, Sweden and Finland? How can we contribute to those topics also in the future, issues like disarmament and so forth? And I don't see any contradiction between the NATO membership and the goals to support the peaceful solutions in the world. In Finland, we have had this NATO option for years, I think something like 18 years, where we have said in our white papers that if the security change situation will worsen in the northern parts of Europe, we are ready to consider the NATO membership. We haven't had our public support so far to that, but this spring everything has changed. People feel the certain threats, people feel certain concepts, for example, use of unconventional weapons where your own military defense is not enough, and therefore you need a better cooperation. But I think your points at the same time support democracies and democratic principles and others. I really appreciate those, and I think that's also the contribution that Finland and Sweden can make in the future. And I just want to congratulate the past presidency of Sweden in the OSCE, our common organization. It was a very difficult time, but Sweden managed very well, and as you know, Finland is planned to be the chair or president of the OSCE in 2025. We don't know what is left of all that European security during the coming years, but we are really committed to also to work according to those principles and strengthen the European capability to keep this continent peaceful also through our common security organizations. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I hope I could address those key questions of honourable members of European Parliament. Thank you.
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Minister, for being with us. Mr. Congratulations for this historical decision. Usually we have a saying that people and countries are wise after the event. This time I congratulate you that Finland is wise before the event. So thank you very much, and please enjoy your stay in protection of NATO. Thank you very much, colleagues, for this debates. We will move in a couple of minutes to the next item of our agenda. Thank you.